Hello and happy Halloween. Welcome to Real Sharks, episode 46. On this episode the guys discuss Avatar 2, Dark Knight vs. the Joker, Borat 2, Saw and more. Trick or treat.
And happy Halloween to all my real sharks out there. You're listening to the RSP podcast, the number one movie podcast on the internet. That's right. And I am your host, Rob, with my own collection of scary kids scaring kids right now. And it is promising to be a treat and not a trick on this episode of the Real Sharks podcast. So let's get started.
There is no denying monsters lead such interesting lives. They live in ooze, they've paid their dues.
So guys, let's talk about something I found interesting. Did you guys see those behind the scenes of Avatar 2 with Kate Winslet underwater? I don't know why.
No,
you didn't see, it just struck me as funny. She's like doing this like open arm. It looks like she's like flapping her wings,
almost
and they're like
Titanic.
Okay, now that you say that's even funnier. That could have been a deleted scene from Titanic, maybe like a dream sequence of her like gliding under the water kind of thing. I don't know.
Trying to reunite with Jack.
Yeah, but it just struck me because I don't know why, but the first thing that popped me up in my head was Armageddon when he's like, "Oh, we're gonna be swimming on this damn asteroid." I don't know why, it just kind of popped in my head that way. But
oh gosh,
this is for the completion of Avatar 2, and apparently the story centers around Neytiri and Jake Sully going to the ocean like an Atlantis type thing, and they meet a clan that lives completely underwater. And so far, that's been the biggest news about it. They're keeping the scripts pretty much under wraps, which I think is really interesting, because we didn't really ask for Avatar 2, let alone 3, but we're getting them all anyway.
And 4.
And 4.
Oh,
and
was
6.
there 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, yeah, they're going to like 6, I think.
They're filming 2, 3, and 4 back to back to back,
Yeah.
right?
I thought it was just only up to 3. I didn't know.
No, they're going all the way, baby. They're trying to beat Star Wars out for good.
Oh my.
Oh Lord.
They're trying to slam Star Wars for good. They want to be the original, trilogy.
But with number 2, I mean, are they trying to do like a live action of the Lost City of Atlantis or something?
I don't know. Like I said, it just seems like a typical. They go down to meet a tribe in the water for said, objective. That's probably, antagonizing them. And just being honest, that's what the movie probably is about.
Yeah, it comes
like
out of
it.
the Sea Kingdom and accidentally
They need their help.
fight,
Yeah,
or they're trying to unite the entire planet together.
Something like that. But it was interesting because one of the things I thought was interesting out of this article that I read off of Screen Rant was how they are hiding the scripts. And they're keeping the scripts very under wraps. And I thought it was interesting, and I thought it would be an interesting topic to talk about because I was like, how do directors actually hide their scripts nowadays? In the age of social media, when you cannot hide a single thing. You can't even hide a coffee cup on the set of Game of Thrones.
Actually, you shouldn't have a cup on the set. You should have it.
But it happened.
But it happened.
I mean,
and that's
listen,
the point.
people back then drink coffee too.
And I want to bring up
They didn't have plastic water bottles though. Those were also in filming eyesight.
This is like, a fantasy, so you got to think about the fantasy and then maybe the 13th century, 21st century. I don't know. Oh god. One of the interesting things I thought about, and I have to actually go to the MCU universe for the guys who actually made the Avengers movie. And what they did to hide their scripts, which I found very interesting but very funny at the same time, was fake dialogue and fake scenes. So they actually shot fake dialogue scenes and fake just movie scenes that they knew were never going to be in the movie to throw people off. And I was like, damn, that's a lot of work. But I guess overall it works because, not many people knew exactly what was going to be in the Avenger movies. So you had an idea, but you didn't know the overall movie.
Right.
But to me, it was just kind of like, I was laughing because I would I think of like an extra or something that was in that scene, and they were like, yeah, I swear to God, man, I was in that film.
You were, kinda.
It's like, yeah, but that scene didn't exist.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I always think of when you're like, how do they like hide those scripts? Like, do you remember that scene in Casino where Al Pacino and Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro meet in the middle of the desert, and it's got all those.
Oh yeah.
You kind of dig up one of those graves, you're gonna find a couple of these scripts.
Just a bag of scripts. Like this is the real movie.
Yeah. Go to these coordinates and find the tree and dig under it.
Third
tree from the left.
Yeah. Do your table reads in the desert.
I thought that was pretty hilarious, though. But not as hilarious as reading this article about the Navy will actually fine people for quoting Tom Cruise's Top Gun movie. Did you guys hear about this?
Wow.
I saw that. Yeah, I think that's a little weird.
Why?
Well, trademark.
It's weird.
Trademark, man.
Yeah, it's all about it's trademarked.
Even the theme, though?
Danger Zone? No.
Well, Kenny Loggins owns that.
Yeah. Kenny Loggins owns that down to the T. But all these other lines,
That's interesting. No one named Goose in that, I guess, right? No one can ever be named that.
Well, apparently, from Business Insider, that the rules when attending flight school, inspired Top Gun, what requires pilots to pay $5 every time they're caught quoting the movie.
I feel like that's more like an annoyance thing.
Yeah, probably.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
They just got tired of it.
They just got tired of it.
Yeah.
They were.
You guys think? And then they're going to be like, you know what? We're banning aviator glasses. We see that on you. We're going to freaking, fine you.
Oh, God. What are the Top Gun quotes? What are the most famous ones?
I don't even know one.
That's I don't even. Does anybody actually know it?
Isn't it to burn out then the fadeaway? Is that it?
That's a Neil Young song. Cobain repurposed.
I'm not sure.
I think that might be one. I just know the characters, but that's so interesting. Like, only people in the Air Force would know the actual quotes from that movie. I just know scenes.
Maybe they're like, they got tired of everyone in the cockpit. They're like, this is Goose and Maverick, and they're like, okay, you guys and 100 of the other people that came before you cannot be Goose or Maverick. Okay, that is not your call sign.
Can't forget about Iceman.
Iceman too. They're like, those are off limits. You cannot be called those.
If you say that, we're gonna intentionally try to crash you down.
Oh man, I wonder how many people have actually tried to do that. I want to know. God, we need to call the Navy and ask. I'm gonna call the Navy and be like, how many times have people demanded their call sign be Maverick, Goose, or Iceman? Like, how often do you get that?
Yeah.
I mean, that must be the policy.
Yeah.
They must be like, that cannot be the name of you, or like what's this guy's name from G.I. Joe, Cobra King or whatever?
Cobra Commander?
Cobra Commander. Can't be named Cobra Commander either.
Good God.
I would imagine that, like, on the first day of flight school, it's like, you can't quote Top Gun, you're not allowed to wear aviator shades, and Maverick, Goose, and Iceman are off limits as call signs.
What if it was funny? What if they were like, but until you graduate?
Or if you're number one in the class,
yes.
you get to be Maverick.
Yeah, I feel like that's good. Like, you get a pair of aviators in a jacket. You're like, all right,
Like
pick your
Maverick
name.
on the back of it.
Yeah.
Yes. And then it's motivation to be the best.
Yeah, right?
So I'm sure Lucas Maximus is going to be breaking everything in his front room once he hears this next story, because for those of you who didn't catch our last episode, Lucas Maximus was actually talking about how the 90s remakes are here. The 90s is in full effect being remade, and they started with The Craft, and we're going to start seeing, things with Limp Bizkit monologues for the 2000s and everything else. But he's going to be breaking everything in his house when he sees that. And I actually brought this article up for Squid as well, because I knew if I didn't bring this up, he would. Hocus Pocus is coming out.
Yeah.
Another Hocus Pocus. And was it Bette Midler said that everyone's in it?
Yep.
Everybody, even Sarah Jessica Parker?
Yeah.
I mean, do they have anything else to do?
Yeah.
Right.
Are they getting work anywhere
Right.
else?
Right.
Now,
why
Mike,
not take the paycheck?
before you give them the silver lining there, interesting. I thought it was interesting because I'm like, there is still an audience for Hocus Pocus. I mean,
Right.
God, they're going to get the adults to watch it too, because everyone's going to be like, hey, I watched that when I was a kid. What did you guys think of Hocus Pocus when it first came out? When I was a kid, I just thought when I was a kid, I thought some of it was real dark. And then when I was older, I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, when you're a kid and you watch it, it was a little dark with the whole cat thing.
Yes, that's the part that's the part that got me.
As a kid.
The dead kid, yes.
Yeah, the dead kid thing. Like, there's two dead kids at the end of the
Yeah.
So, but I don't, you think about it, right? It was mostly quirky, the whole film.
Yeah.
My whole problem is the comedy. I don't know if they can do those type of comedy. There's some, like, adult humor and nods in this film.
I think they'll get away with it.
DreamWorks rides that line a lot.
Yeah.
DreamWorks crosses that line a lot.
But will they do it right though? That is,
Of course they will.
You can do it, but is it going to be ham-fisted? Are they going to do nods as they do like not actual face, but like are they going to do it like a quote that's forced from the original put in?
You mean like The Craft? That's so
Yeah.
funny. We got 2 witch movies that are coming out, being remade, and you mean it's like because The Craft? One thing I was talking about with Lucas Maximus, which I cannot stand, such a pet peeve of mine when they do it with movies, is when they take dialogue from the first movie and insert it into the new movie as if to remind you to love it.
Or here's a reminder of this was in that film.
This is a remake of this
and
movie.
you're going to
'Cause
like
you
it
look
now.
at the new Craft trailer and they're like, hey, watch out for those weirdos. We are the weirdos.
Yeah, the
It's like,
weirdos.
I didn't need that.
You didn't need
I
that,
didn't
and you
need that.
ham-fisted it in. So are they going to do something that is going to be the same way? It's like you went out of your way to do that, and it didn't fit, and it's not funny.
I don't know. I kind of hope with this new sequel that they're coming out with for this, I kind of hope they don't kind of touch back to the original. I hope they.
Oh, of course they will.
Yeah,
Well,
they will. They have to.
Probably bits and pieces, but I hope they try and stay completely different and try and do something else. Because if they try to go too much of what they did in the original, then it's just gonna say, why didn't you guys just do a soft reboot of this? And just
I think it will be a soft reboot.
It has to
a
be.
soft reboot.
I think it will be totally.
Mhm.
It'll be a soft reboot with a women power edge to it. 100%.
You think so?
Yeah, I think.
100%.
Yeah,
There is,
100%.
there has been a lot of women power movie coming out, and there's nothing wrong with that if the movie had played into that like The Craft did, but I don't know.
So did Hocus Pocus.
Did it? You think so?
Well, with the zombie, he was a guy, and he was kind of knocking him around, and they didn't really care
Oh my
about
God,
the
I
guy.
forgot about Billy.
Yeah, Billy, remember that
that
guy?
was such a cool, yeah.
And then you know what?
I like that character.
You get I think you get a curse word in the film actually when he cuts
does.
his
Yes, he
his
does.
mouth that was sewn shut.
Yeah.
And he
He
drops
says,
the B word.
No,
Yeah.
I thought he said winch.
No,
Well,
dude, I think.
Well, winch is basically
Basically.
another word for whore.
Yeah, and you're just like,
So
wow.
that's what winch means. Is it Song of the South?
Oh my
I mean, no. But
we don't need a.
I wouldn't say it comes close either.
Yeah.
So Tomb Raider's director reveals that he thinks video game movies are making a comeback. Not that I've seen too many movies come out.
Did they ever leave? Was my first thought.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
Resident Evil franchise has been going for 20 years as a film franchise, just about, right?
Yeah.
2002-ish.
Yes.
So, I mean, did
Ready
they ever
Player
go
One
away?
was another video game
What was
touchback
that
It was
movie.
technically a
Yeah.
book, but it's
Yeah.
mostly in movies. Detective
Yeah.
Pikachu.
Extra Life, I
Tomb
believe,
Raider.
with
Pikachu,
Ryan,
yes.
Ryan Reynolds' Extra Life is another one that came
no.
out.
Free Guy.
Free Guy, excuse me. Yeah, Free Guy.
So have they really
that's
even
another
left,
one.
guys?
Yeah,
No,
that's,
I
no,
don't
they've
know
been
why
around.
he's saying this.
They've ever, they're just like, I think.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But if you say they're making a comeback, then it's a story.
Maybe he
Right.
means making a comeback as in they're getting better. And
Well,
actually
yeah,
doing
yeah,
better at the
yeah.
box
Well,
office.
that's kind of true because Sonic the Hedgehog actually did very well at the box office after they had
Because
to,
it was gangster.
Yeah. They did have Gangsta Paradise.
Yes.
I thought it, actually, I did watch Sonic recently.
It was good.
I actually enjoyed it. It was Sonic, man. I mean, I don't know. I heard some of the criticisms of it, and I'm like, everybody. I'm like, it's a movie about a hedgehog that runs super fast.
And does some quips. Does some jokes.
There's nothing else really to it. Even Jim Carrey was very Jim Carrey-esque.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
100% Jim
Yeah.
Carrey.
Yeah.
I mean,
There wasn't anything to it.
Yeah, I mean, we even talked about this on the show when it came out. Me and Steve talked about this movie, and we both agreed. I mean, Jim Carrey was probably the guy that stole this
Yeah,
entire
he was the star of
movie.
the
Yeah.
movie.
I don't even remember who the main guy was.
That's true.
That's how much.
Oh, the
What's
sheriff.
that? What?
Sonic. And
Oh, well, yeah, I know Sonic is the main guy. I mean, the guy who was helping him. Yes, there it is.
Sheriff.
I don't know. Sheriff
God,
McDoodle.
Sheriff Donut.
Sheriff Brady.
His name's Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheriff Andy Griffin. I don't know.
I'm gonna look this up.
I remember the ads that were just thrown in the movie. The ad for the Olive Garden that keeps coming up.
Right.
There's another ad that keeps coming up.
Right.
They just keep having these. What is it? Zillow, the apartment finder. There's
Yeah,
just,
right.
We're gonna stop the movie.
Product
and have an ad
placement,
for
yeah.
Zillow real quick.
Yeah.
We had to pay for recoloring Sonic somehow.
Right. No. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
That's how that movie was. I did enjoy it. What's the name of him?
Yeah, you were right. It was Sheriff Tom.
Sheriff
Oh
Tom.
my God, yeah. Throw a Tom in there. Then you're gonna get it.
I said Sheriff Brady, so maybe it was Tom Brady.
Was he a cameo in that?
Sheriff Tom, Sheriff Brady.
How much better would that movie have been to just have Tom Brady
Do a
acting
cameo?
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh my
Acting with
God.
some fake, like, blue hedgehog.
Yeah.
And then, right in the middle of the movie, you make some kind of situation where he has to throw a controller to Sonic, and he's like, "Go long!"
That would be actually
Oh my
pretty
God.
sick.
It would elevate it from like bland and okay to bad but super enjoyable.
Yeah, right. Just throws him a Sega Genesis controller for it. But that's a very good question, Rob, that you're bringing up. Like, these video game movies have been around throughout these years.
Never gone away.
And they've not gone away. And they actually, like you just said, they've improved.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Tomb Raider 2 will do for the game franchise.
I mean, Tomb Raider, we always say this over and over, but it is a question: is there an audience for Tomb Raider? I don't really know, because Tomb Raider is kind of old. I mean, are they even still making Tomb Raider as games anymore?
yeah,
Are they
they're
still?
I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
I thought
They
they
just-
kind of stopped.
They just finished the most recent trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Something
Yeah.
was happening.
See, I haven't
Yeah.
played Tomb Raider in years. The last one I probably played was like 2 on the first
Oh
PlayStation.
my goodness. And then, but then
That's
after...
real old school. You're
like, oh my goodness.
Holy crap.
But again, that franchise itself has tested the time of the movie industry. They did make those games
With
based off
Angelina Jolie.
They made two movies, so that was successful enough. And then
Skeletons, man.
Yeah,
That's so bad.
My God, dude, that was one of the never speak of the skeletons.
Dude, I mean, that CGI in that movie was so bad. They should have just got actual real skeletons like you put in science class on like a board and wheeled them at her. They just had like a shielded, like a sword at their side.
Like, do you guys remember the
They
what
were
is
bad.
the Sinbad movies when he's fighting the skeletons? It
Oh,
looked
God,
like
yeah.
dude. It was like stop animation.
Yeah, it wasn't Clash of the Titans status, you know, because that's classic, man. This
That's
was
super cool. Though.
this is what we don't even talk about kind of status, you know. So let's go ahead and move away from movie news and get into our. Let's have a little debate. I thought this would be a little fun topic for the show coming up, but before we do, let's go ahead and go into our first break. We'll be right back, all our real sharks. And welcome back to this episode of the RSP Movie Podcast. And I thought for this day for movie debate, we would talk about something I've been really wanting to have a conversation about. I know it's Halloween, everybody. And again, another happy Halloween to all our listeners out there if you're listening to this beforehand or after. But I thought this would be a good topic to bring up because it finally died down. I think you can actually have the conversation without too many people freaking out now. I want to talk about The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's Joker, and I want to talk about Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker movie. Now, this is apples and oranges, but I wanted to talk about who did it really well, because I've been kind of conflicted on this, guys. I'm kind of conflicted. I just watched The Joker and The Dark Knight recently, and I gotta say, I really do enjoy Joaquin Phoenix's performance. Not to take away from Heath Ledger, not to take away from The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight is amazing, but there's just something about Joaquin Phoenix's role that's just a little bit more relatable, maybe because to me I feel like it's more on the realism side than the action-packed side, I guess, because Dark Knight is more of, again, a comic action film,
right,
as opposed to a drama action film, which is what the Joker is. But I don't know. I think you can make a good comparison to them in their own, universes, but I want to get your guys' opinion. I personally think Joaquin Phoenix's is, I just think it's better. I think it's better, more relatable, but then again, like I said, it's hard because this is apples and oranges. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go ahead and chime up on it. Steve, what do you think? Who do you think is does it better?
All right, before anything
And don't you
happens,
bring up Jack Nicholson.
No, I'm not. Damn it!
or the fact that they're putting Jared Leto in the new Justice League.
Okay, you just handicapped me right out of
my.
it. You had to just cut my legs out with.
Hey, we lost followers because of my tweet like that. Because I tweeted out Jared Leto's gonna be the new Joker, and I put that Futurama. No.
Yeah. So disclaimer to every Joker fan of every franchise ever: this is the Real Shark's opinion. Take it as it is, and this is mine.
This is mine. We
So,
don't count the other ones.
Yeah. So Jared Leto and Jack Nicholson aside. Yeah, I don't know, man. That is such a good question, Rob. Like I will just say I think I do lean a little bit more towards the Joaquin Phoenix's only because it does deal with a little bit more realism, because the thing that I give the nod to is the Dark Knight's portrayal of the Joker is portraying two sides. It was like zany, and then he portrayed realism. He had realism scenes with the gangsters where he's just like, I'm a normal guy. He'll just be like, I'm a normal guy, right? And then the next minute, he's crazy, he's laughing. So it's like, oh, that's the Joker, and it's cool. It's a cool portrayal, right? And that, I'm not taking anything away from that performance, but Joaquin Phoenix's is just a guy down on his luck. And even when he turns into the Joker, he's still just a dude in face paint. Like, the Joker in The Dark Knight is the Joker. You don't even know him. Like, he's just chaos.
But there's also this sense I get from the Dark Knight Joker of invincibility in a way.
Yeah.
And Joaquin Phoenix's, I get that, but I get this idea of a guy that isn't really invincible, but he's so crazy that he could just get away with it and do it.
Yeah, like, he gets away with it, and he's totally vulnerable. You see him get beat up. You see him get injured. The Dark Knight, he gets captured, but you never really see him get his comeuppance. Like, he never gets beaten by the Batman. He just catches him, and even when he does, like, the Joker's like, I win. Like, I'm laughing at the end.
Yeah, we'll do this forever.
We'll do this forever. Joaquin Phoenix is like, I'm just accepting my own madness, and everybody's coming along on the ride. Like, I'm forcing people to come along on the ride. So it's a little different take. I like that because it was ballsy. It went out there. It tried something new and different. It was a different kind of zone. And
Steve's thought a lot about this one.
Yeah, like, because, it's an interesting one. Dare I even say, with Joaquin Phoenix, and this is what put me over the edge, and I'll end it here, it gave me flashbacks of Batman, the animated series. Because the time zone, right? It was like in weird like 80s, and it was like, oh, this is sick. Like, it's no Batman, but I felt like, I don't know why.
You were in the era?
I was in that era. You know, the Batman it was like in
Gotham
the 40s.
has always been described as a universe of where the style of the 1930s has never left, but it's in modern day.
But it's modern day. And that's exactly, Rob, you just pinpointed it. That's what I felt like. It was like in some 80s era, maybe even 70s, but it was in the modern era at points. That's what put me over the edge. In the Dark Knight, it was just in the future somewhere, and they're just dealing with the tech and everything that deals with it. So that was my take. Joaquin Phoenix over.
Mike?
Unfortunately, it'll be a little recycled because I feel like you guys have said most of what you can say about it, but in terms of Heath Ledger, it's a roller coaster. You're just along for the ride. But with Joaquin Phoenix, he's a full-formed character. He's a person with a name and opinions and feelings, and you kind of understand who he is and where he's coming from. And with Heath Ledger, you're just like, where's he going to go next? What is he going to do next? It's insane. It's crazy. It's captivating. But at the same time, like, the movie's still anchored by Batman. It's still anchored by Harvey Dent. Whereas, again, the other movie is anchored completely around Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he is more, like, he is realistic. He does beat up, he gets hit by a car. And then by the end of the movie, you're kind of like, well, I want to see where this crazy guy's going to go next. And I hope in the sequel that, you know, he evolves even more into a, like, fully fledged Joker. But he's still in an origin phase as well.
See, that's where I was getting at with this topic, because they are going to bring the Joker movie into a Batman-esque feel, where he will probably battle Batman. But that's interesting because it's two different styles. So that's why I was getting at with the whole, you know, when it does transition to this style, Mike, do you think Joaquin Phoenix's Joker will be able to, I guess, go side by side with that Heath Ledger Joker madness style, that roller coaster?
I honestly feel like they should flip the formula, and Batman should just be like the Predator or Michael Myers, and he should just be looming in the background, and you just see his shape, and then all of a sudden a bunch of goons disappear, and then the Joker's freaking out, and you're not following Batman through this whole thing, you're following the Joker. Because we have so many Batman movies already. We have the Robert Pattinson one that will be coming out, now 2022?
Yeah.
So we don't need to see that side of it with this particular Joker. At least I don't need to. I would like to see how he's reacting to Batman as opposed to Batman reacting to him.
Right.
And turn Batman into the mysterious one. Into almost, he's not a villain because we know Batman's the good guy. But in terms of the language of the film, he is a villain. He is a mystical force that is trying to shut down our protagonist's plans. That would be much more interesting.
We agreed on that one. That was good.
I'm kind of glad you wanted to bring this up because probably a couple of weeks ago, I saw somebody wearing a face mask, and it had a Joker smile on it, and it was from the Joker movie. And I told the guy, I said, "Oh, cool mask." And I asked him, which Joker did you like more? And he said, "Oh, I liked Joaquin Phoenix one." I said, "Interesting. I'm more of a Heath Ledger fan." And he asked me why. And I said, "Oh, I kind of liked Heath Ledger's performance a little bit more, and you can't go wrong with how Joaquin Phoenix did it." But with Heath Ledger, the whole reason why I love his performance is because, I mean, what you guys were just saying, the chaos and just not knowing what he was going to do. I mean, that's kind of what the Joker was. He's always that guy who's off his rocker. He's always going to do something that's going to either destroy Gotham, destroy Batman, or possibly kill people.
Yeah, so you like more of the comic style, because he, like in the comic, he just appears, just like in the movie. He just comes out.
Well, the Dark Knight, like I said, it was chaos. He was chaos. He literally, what he says to Harvey Dent is the exact personification of his character. He's like, do I look like a guy who has a plan? I'm a dog chasing cars. He's like, I just do. He's like, introduce a little anarchy. Introduce a little chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. That's his whole point.
And that's my favorite line from him the entire movie, too.
Yeah.
Well, the best part about that line is it's a complete and utter lie. All that Joker has is plans. He's got plans from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie.
That's but you don't know about that, too.
Well, you kind of do, because you saw the bank heist, and at that point he planned a fire alarm pull or something, bombing of the hospital to get it evacuated so he could steal away Harvey Dent. Like, he is just full of plans.
Full of plans.
But he's so crazy and far ahead of you in terms of planning that it feels like chaos to anybody around him.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's just running laps.
He knows them better than they know themselves.
Right.
And I think they even say that in the film, too, because he knows what they're going to do before they even do it.
And Joaquin Phoenix knows nobody. He doesn't even know himself.
No, exactly.
So that's the thing where
But that's what's almost
great.
the beauty of it, though.
Right.
Is you're watching you sit there and you go, this is probably how the Joker really was, how he turned into the Joker, because this poor guy's just going through this madness. But you know what's even interesting, too, and we didn't even get it fully into it, to know if we'll even have time to, but the lore itself that they presented in both films is really, really good. Yeah, the Dark Knight, they just went off their own. They let Heath Ledger do what he wanted with the makeup, but, it worked, because then all of a sudden now everyone's trying to look like Heath Ledger's Joker. More importantly, too, what's one of the things that both movies present, that both movies have in it, that I think is really interesting, and that's the fact that he has no name. He has no real origin story, which is so true to the lore of the Joker. Because, yes, his name is Arthur Fleck, but is it? Because it's not really his mom. That's not really his mom. You don't know. You don't even know if he's Thomas Wayne's kid, because with the infamous picture, once they go through the whole, I'm not your mom, you see the picture that says, I'll always miss your kisses.
So you never solidify.
You never know what exactly that origin story is, just like you never know the origin story of Heath Ledger's Joker story. I think it's brilliant in both terms. I think that's why they're both so strong in their own, but but it is apples and oranges. But it's like they took the lore, and one side took the lore and went straight forward at it, and the other one took it and made it more of a backdoor mysterious, read between the lines kind of thing.
Right. And that one theory we came up with a long time ago at the end, where the whole movie could have just took place in his head, and he was in this insane asylum the whole way, and he's just like, I created this persona of the Joker, and me being crazy and all this other stuff. You never know.
He's a very unreliable narrator throughout that entire film.
Yes, he is. But I even love when he breaks that fourth wall, when he's just like, I was just thinking of something funny, and he thinks of Bruce Wayne sitting there, looking at his parents dead, but then when all of a sudden he's like, that's life, and he starts singing the song with her, that's brilliant. I thought that was great.
With Joaquin Phoenix, and I can't believe I didn't mention this yet, is because you even touched about his vulnerability. I mean, you really see how he hits that breaking point of where everything seems to go down and wrong for him, and he just doesn't know what's even real anymore. And I think that's what I really enjoyed about his performance, is just in that moment, just everything snapped, and he just kind of went off the rails a bit and just started killing.
I mean, he doesn't kill a lot. We'll say it again. The Real Sharks podcast will say it again. Me and Mike are already quoted on this. This was the most mildest crazy film that was ever done. Everyone made fun. I mean, I've never seen a film where people were like, "This is insane. This movie cannot go to theaters." It's like, how many people does he kill in it? 4.
In very mundane ways. He either shoots them or he stabs them, but like it's off camera. There's not like loads of blood spraying everywhere and guts falling out. Like he doesn't. It's not like Tarantino level of violence.
Yes, Tarantino. His depictions of blood and gore and violence was a lot more worse than that.
Don't act like
flamethrower.
Yeah,
right.
Don't act like you guys didn't see a Saw film and then be like, oh my god.
Right. Yeah. Don't act like you never saw a Saw film and rated that to be a good movie. Then let them come out with 6 of them and then let them remake it. I don't know how many goddamn times now they're remaking it called Spiral. It's like, can you stop? I don't care about Jigsaw. I got my kid. My freaking 5-year-old kid's like, "Hey, Dad, do you know who Jigsaw is?" And I'm like, "How do you know who Jigsaw is?" Yeah. And he's like, "Fortnite." And I'm like, "What the? What is?" I'm like, "Why are you kids and why are you gamers obsessed with one of the most dumbest film characters ever
all time?
A guy who couldn't be real. I mean, he was dying in the first. He said he was dying.
He was dying, yeah.
And then he lives for like another 8 years in these movies.
He lives in like 3 of them?
Yeah, he's dead by the 3rd one. And
whatever.
Each movie adds a new accomplice, so by the end of it, he's got like 15 accomplices. So like he's had a lot of help here to get.
He really has.
Yeah.
I mean,
you guys seen him. You guys remembered him way more than me because after I remember the first one. I thought was great. I thought was good. I just thought in the beginning when he wakes up and the key goes down the drain, I'm like, how unfair of that? How unfair is that? Because no one would be able to do that. Right? No one would.
And he's like, everything is completely fair. It's in your hands.
Yes.
Like, really?
Like,
okay.
Except when I put the key in the drain when you were unconscious and you woke up and the water went down the drain with the key.
Who's gonna know? Oh, there's a key in here.
There.
That does become a point of contention in one of the Saw movies eventually, that his accomplice sets up unfair games.
Yes.
One, which
the girl.
No, 3. Yeah. It was in 3.
Oh, really? Where it starts and then it just becomes like, oh, you just want to see people die.
I always saw, and we're getting off the rails, but it's okay. I always thought Saw was just an updated, more hardcore version of what 7 was. Because they are very similar in characters and style. I mean, you know the cops and everything. But I meant the killer, because you have the killer that's like basically trying to teach the lesson of sin to people. Because what did Jigsaw do? That's what he did. He was just he was just like, this guy who didn't care about life, or people are so ungrateful to be alive and all this kind of stuff. Same thing with Kevin Spacey's performance. He's like a man who was so huge he couldn't even walk. He's like, I didn't do him anything wrong. I just, fed him who he was and all this kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
So, I don't know. I just always see Saw as just that kind of a rip-off of 7. But not as good as 7.
7 is fantastic.
7 is good, but there's a lot of rain in that movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
It rains a lot
like
in that movie.
Almost in every scene. Every scene Brad Pitt's in
the
rain.
ending.
Yeah, what's in the box? What's in the box? Alright, we'll be right back with our movie reviews. Hey Arizona, if you live in the West Valley and don't want to travel all the way downtown or to Tempe for cool retro clothing and products, then check out our friends over at Ivory House. With online reviews saying affordable prices, quality pieces, and nice owners, how could you beat that? Located at 650 North Estrella Parkway, Suite A4, Goodyear, Arizona, 85338.
It is time. Shark's in order. Our shark. There's a Sharknado coming!
Dragon sharks? Are those sharks with laser beams attached to their heads?
Welcome to the Sharks.
So, Trial of Chicago 7, 2020. This is actually a movie. It just came out recently. It said September 25th, but they actually released it a little later than that.
Well, I think it had a short theatrical.
Yes, for obviously for awards and everything like that, because that's the whole point of getting a movie in theater, so they can be able to take it to the Oscars and all the awards and say, hey, at least it went to theaters. Directed by Aaron Sorkin. Actually, like Aaron Sorkin.
Written by him as well.
Written by him as well. Yes. You had Sacha Baron Cohen playing the famous Abby Hoffman. You had Eddie Redmayne as Tom Hayden, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Richard Schultz, and Yang Abdul-Mateen as Bobby Seale. Sorry if I butchered that name. So far, it had a budget of $35 million, box office $104. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was an interesting film. Mike, why don't you go ahead and start this review off?
So the movie's about the Chicago riots in I would say late summer of 1968, and about after Richard Nixon gets elected, he chooses then to prosecute some of the leaders of the counterculture revolution at the time. And so he picks a group of 7 leaders. 2 of them get thrown in, as they state in the movie, just to make sure that we have 2 we can get off. And then, unfortunately, Bobby Seale gets grouped in, even though he was literally, as he says in the film, only in Chicago for 4 hours. And then the movie is just about their trial and how basically unfair it was.
Yes.
How essentially rigged our judicial system can.
It is. Right. It was a film, literally, as some people have said in other reviews, a film with precedent today.
100%.
Yes, and I would agree so too. Yeah. And it really does show the bias of our judicial system and how unfair, and how if they want to point the finger at you, they will do it.
Yeah, the system that is supposed to be the most fair and balanced can be corrupted easily by whoever the judge is.
Right.
I thought it was really entertaining. I'm
captivating.
It is captivating. I mean, there's not much we can really give to our audience about this film in detail because it's something you have to see yourself. Really, right. It is a trial-based film. So it does have those captivating moments and those bombshell ha-ha moments, but, I mean, it was good. I liked it a lot. I also would like to throw a big F you to Screen Rant, even though we love you, for basically bringing up the fact of the Forrest Gump connection that we brought up and that everyone was talking about. But, we'll let it go. Because we were the first podcast to say, oh, yeah, they're making a movie about that guy was in Forrest Gump. He was the guy who was like, and there was this guy with the American flag t-shirt, and he liked to say the F word a lot. F this and F that. And he's like, come up here, man. Get the fuck up here, man. Same guy. But I thought it was a good movie. I was, when it comes to trial films, they go one of 2 ways. Really captivating and interesting, or really boring and dry. Now, the cinematography of this movie, I didn't think was that I thought it was a little dry, actually.
Standard.
Standard, yes.
It was just, yeah.
Yeah, got the job done. But overall, I thought it was still interesting, even from the court scenes back and forth. I thought Sacha Baron Cohen did a good job. I thought everyone did a good job. I just thought it was an overall good film. One of my biggest criticisms of it, though, is it just had to come out during this time, during COVID, when no one's really paying attention.
This is such a theater film. I feel like this should have been in theaters, and it would have been a huger hit than what it was.
It's a topic that is being discussed right now, and I think it would actually inflame those topics.
Yes.
But that's me, though.
Yeah, and it's definitely carried... When I saw that Aaron Sorkin had directed it, that lowered my expectation for the look and feel of the film in terms of its visuals, but, it's still him writing it.
He's a good writer. I think he's okay.
He's a fantastic writer. Again, I love the Steve Jobs movie. He wrote that. He wrote for.
That's why I knew you'd like this one. As soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, because he's terrific. The dialogue is snappy. It's on point.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you understand who the people are without having to spend 7 minutes
explaining who everyone is.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it gets to the point quickly. It does not waste time. This film,
which I think is needed in movies nowadays, because I always have one of my biggest pet peeves, is I always explain, especially in comic films, is the background origin stories. When it comes to MCU or even DC, it's if there's a movie with all these different characters, we do not need to go back and see every single one of their origin stories to remind us of who they are.
Yeah.
That's why I liked it. It didn't have anything to do with that. It was just straightforward. This is what it is. It was a great film. It was actually a really good film. I was really impressed, for coming out during 2020. One of the better films of 2020 too.
Yes.
Personally, I'd give Trial of Chicago 7 a 7.5.
I give it an 8.
I thought it was good.
I give it an 8.
Probably an 8. Because again, it's so well written, and then it's so well performed, and you're interested the whole time, and then also the fact that it's based on something in history that is so prescient to what's happening right now, it's obviously it helps. But then just to see how unfair and rigged our government should be, which I know you did not say it earlier. Frank Langella as the judge, total dick, but great performance.
Oh, yes.
Great actor. I'm sorry, I can't believe I didn't mention him. Great actor.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to be a good judge. Who's the guy who plays Tywin, Steve?
Tywin Lannister.
Is it Christopher Plummer? Or,
God, he'd be a good judge.
That's a different guy. Who plays Tywin Lannister?
He'd be a good judge for a movie.
What's his name? I'm trying to think of it.
I love him in films, though. He's always in a medieval film because of his voice.
Except for Godzilla.
Yeah, this is random.
Charles Dance.
There it is, Charles Dance.
Great actor.
Sexy old man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. You're welcome on this episode. You're welcome on this podcast anytime, Charles Dance. Love to have you on there.
To call him sexy old man.
Oh God, yeah. Well, no, I've followed his career a lot actually. He's been in a lot of movies. It's just interesting how because of Game of Thrones is what for some reason put him over the edge. Now everyone knows who he is.
No one saw Last Action Hero?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's been in a lot of other films. With that distinct voice. I mean, he's just been around. He's been around a lot, and I've always enjoyed his work.
Wasn't he in Dracula Untold?
I believe so. Yes,
he was.
Yes.
That movie. But yeah, Chicago 7. Sacha Baron Cohen's doing a terrific job. Just being like, that's one thing too the movie does is honestly the whole movie I was more on Thomas Hayden's side, and like Abby Hoffman's kind of just exactly as Thomas Hayden explains to you towards the end of the film. He's like, you're a dick who's out there doing drugs and cursing and being loud, and I'm worried that in 50 years all the counterculture revolution is going to be remembered for is those things. It's just children being irresponsible, which is, as you're watching the movie, you're like, yeah, damn, that's true. That's basically all it's remembered for. And then the movie, and obviously it happened in real life too, the movie and in real life, it immediately flipped after that because then Thomas Hayden becomes the one who kind of incited the riot. It was the police, but in terms of anybody in that circle, that 7 who would be responsible, it would be Hayden. And then Abby Hoffman is the one who gives the most elegant description of what they did and really stands up for them and is the only one who takes a stand. So things like that are thankfully happen in history, but then the writing's good. Michael Keaton makes a surprise appearance.
Yeah,
that was.
And he's terrific.
That was interesting.
God, another sexy old man. Yeah, I like Michael Keaton, man. Yeah. I love him as Beetlejuice.
Porter's just gonna have a bunch of sexy old men talking to him with their gravelly
voices. No, but the one guy who I would love to talk to, the one guy who my man crushes on is Jude Law. That voice is delivered by the gods themselves. Let me tell you, that man's voice. Jude Law's voice, man. All right, that's going to be this episode of the RSP podcast. I am your host, Rob, with Steve, Squid,
see you guys later,
and Mike.
You have a good night, y'all.
And we will catch you guys on the flip side. The Real Sharks podcast out. Before we move on, my listeners, let me ask you, do you have any old clothing you think might be valuable? A concert shirt? Maybe an Elvis shirt you've outgrown? Or maybe a Star Wars shirt you just want to sell? Then make sure to give our friends over at Ivory House a call at 623-203-5568. They specialize in retro products and clothing and will make you an offer. Again, that's Ivory House, 623-203-5568. Tell them Real Shark sent you.
Hey folks, Rob here from Fat, Drunk, and Stupid. And what is that, you ask? Well, aside from 3 words that describe my life, it's a podcast. We talk about food, fun, fellowship, movies, books, video games, pop culture, and much more. Also, some very interesting guests and some awesome stories, and of course, some cold beers along the way too. So look us up on Twitter at FDS Podcast 7 and look for Fat, Drunk, and Stupid wherever you find your favorite podcast. Thanks for listening.
Hello, potential listeners. My name is The Vern, and I'm the host of the Cinema Recall podcast. On most shows, myself, along with some great guests, we will talk about a movie and then some of the most iconic moments that happened in said movie. On top of that, you'll get bonus shows where I will give you short reviews about new and classic movies, or I'll just rant and rave about something going on in the entertainment industry. So come check us out. We're available on Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, most other places. Don't forget to follow us on social media. On Twitter, we're at cinema_recall. And then on Facebook, Instagram, we are Cinema Recall Podcast. Don't forget to email us your ad spots to play on future episodes. That email is cinemarecall@gmail.com. Hope to see you around, and thank you very much for listening.
And welcome back on My Real Sharks. So, we talked about it on last week's episode. Borat 2, and they finally dropped it. And let me say, I saw it. I liked it. I actually am going to go on a limb here, and a lot of people will probably hate me for this. I liked it more than the first one. I actually did like it more than the first one. But, then again, I didn't really like the first one that much. Because, like I've said it before, I always find Borat as a film about hating immigrants, which it is, about exposing America's hatred towards immigrants, which it was. It was funny, but there was just something about Borat. I was just like, some of it's. I personally like Bruno more. But Borat 2, I did enjoy. However, though, there are some big, huge differences I found, and we're going to go ahead and discuss them in this review. One of the interesting things about Borat 2, I automatically noticed off the bat, was it was a little bit more heartwarming. I know that sounds funny coming from a Sacha Baron Cohen film, but with the introduction of the daughter, there was definitely this element of being a father, teaching your kids right and wrong. There was definitely this another element besides just being, stupid Borat. It just felt a little bit more heartfelt. And then when they're, she's like, "Oh, look, Dad, look at them. They all these American dads hold their daughters' hands." And then they start holding hands. They do that little dance down the whole, it was heartwarming. It was good. The jokes I thought were funny. Sacha Baron Cohen, he did an interview recently. He said the reason he made this film was to not only expose the overt racism that is going on in America right now, but to also show that there's actually kindness, too, still. And there was a lot of kindness in this film. I thought there was a lot of heartfelt moments. Spoilers, everybody. Real Sharks is a spoiler show. For example, when he goes into the synagogue, and he is dressed as the most offensive person to a Jewish person you can imagine. But what does that lady do? She's like, "Come here, let me give you a kiss." And she's like, "No, don't steal my soul." And she's like, "Did I steal your soul? Did I eat you?" She's like, "I didn't do anything to you."
He's like, "Oh, well, you gotta wait for the venom."
Yeah, you gotta wait for the venom. Gotta wait for the venom. But still, it was more of a heartwarming thing. My favorite joke, personally, of that whole film, though, and I'll get to it, my favorite joke was when he walked into the Republican rally with the KKK and he's like, "Hi, I'm Stephen Miller."
And no one stopped him?
No one stopped him!
They're just watching.
What the fuck
Even when he dressed as Trump, everyone was just, looking around like, "Are you serious? Pence, I got your girl!"
Oh my goodness.
Okay, who wants to go off? So basically, I'll just go off of my rating here. So overall, I give Borat 2. I give it a 7. I think it was a strong sequel. I do. I think it was actually a good sequel. I think some people may disagree and say Borat is still stronger. I will probably lean on saying it is still stronger of the two films. However, though, I thought Borat 2 was an okay sequel for being so long and taking so long to come out. I expected a lot worse, but it was still good.
I did too. I think that's a fair grade. I'm also going to give it a solid 7. It's a solid 7. Yeah, you know what? I think the age actually helped Borat more than anything. I think that age...
You explained that in the film. Remember in the beginning when he's like, "But the problem was, Borat too famous." He's like, "Everywhere I went, everyone was like, Borat,
yeah.
Borat." He's like,
I had no Borat.
I had no Borat.
Yeah. I really think that helped because there was no real consequences for Americans' actions during that 14-year span yet until now, and I think this was perfect timing to do this film. And like you said, it was very heartwarming, and that was kind of like, because the first film is like all about like the lows of what Borat had to deal with in America, and then like there was really no like whatever to it. And this one, it was more of just like hitting all of the stuff that is happening, like feminism and racism.
Yeah.
And still with the whole, like, there's still some things where there are people that are not cool with immigrants, but also kind of like forgiving, and he puts everybody in good light. So anybody from, I don't care whatever walks of life, if you're offended by this film, it's hard to press to do it. There's like these two guys, that are like
QAnon.
The QAnon guys.
Oh, yeah.
And then like
he spent 5 days in character with those guys quarantine.
And then
that's crazy.
like for real let them do that. And then he found out that those guys are real good guys. They're just
they're nice guys.
dudes.
They were nice.
They're just misinformed people.
Oh
my god.
But the part that I even was so heartwarming, and I was like, oh, those guys are nice guys, is when he was like, I dedicate these to my 2 buddies. But then he was like, it's my daughter, go get her, guys. And they run over there, and they're like, if you don't go back, your father will be killed. Yeah. They said they are going to put turnips to his body and throw them or whatever. He's like, they're just going to pull him to pieces.
They're going to pull both his legs up. So, like, but the way they shot that shot, right? That scene was these 2, like, redneck-looking dudes coming up to this girl and, like, in an aggressive manner, and you're thinking they're going to do some sexual harassment or whatever, and they didn't. They just came up and was like, you need to do this.
You need to listen to your father.
You need to listen to your father. So he puts him in a good light.
But the fact they put up with him for 5 days when he had the dildo, and he's working out in front of him, and when he's like, I'm killing the virus, he's like going around, and he's like slamming the... Dude, oh, man. But some of the things he revealed in there were quite shocking when he's just like, what's more dangerous, the virus or the Democrats? And they're like, the Democrats.
The Democrats,
He's like, they should have less rights, right? High five! And they're like, they should have less rights than us. It's like, geez.
Yeah, and then, like, the Clintons drink baby blood. They do that.
Yes.
I was just like, okay.
I'm thinking, oh my god, you guys are insane.
But, again, so they bring in the things, and my whole thing about it was, how is he going to do this? Like, people knew who Borat is.
Yeah.
He had to go to the most rural place. He went to this, like, electronic shop. It was, like, one of my favorite scenes.
One of my favorite jokes.
He starts, like, understanding FaceTime, right? And he's just like, I'm trying to talk to your twin brother in the phone. And he, like...
As a businessman myself, who deals with paperwork, there's nothing more annoying than a fax machine, because they don't exist. And like that's why I was dying. I thought about this show and all the things I have to go through when it comes to paperwork and fax machines, because I was just like,
and read them out.
Yeah, he's like, I have to make contact with my president. He's like, what do you need? He's like, I need a fax machine. And I'm like, oh god. And he's just like, sup. Sends the message back. Sup. Question mark.
The president sends back a penis pic, and then he's just like, oh, sorry, I was sexing my sister. So the guy had to read that.
My favorite one was he's like, what did he say? He didn't say anything. He just sent you a bunch of frowny faces over and over.
Angry faces.
Angry faces.
That was good.
Yeah,
there were some good jokes.
Yeah, the porn pic when he's searching porn.
Oh god, the Instagram influencer on women. That was awful. Oh my god. But let's talk about the biggest, what we're not talking about, and we'll give everyone our opinions on it. And I'll just straight up say, yes, Rudy Giuliani was about to have sex with this underage woman.
And I don't want to hear otherwise.
I don't want to hear otherwise. That's what was going to happen.
Yeah. He was told.
Did he know she was under? She's supposed to be a reporter at that point. So
see, I thought that too, but I don't.
Probably not in real life anyway.
Yeah.
No, she's not. She's like in her 20s.
Yeah,
but she was in the film. But in the film, and what Rudy Giuliani knew, she was 15.
Yeah.
Did he know that? Did we ever see that in the film that he knows?
I don't think you've seen it, but it's portrayed, so you have to make the assumption.
Regardless, though,
she's in
he
the character.
Still was making an advance on this woman.
Oh yeah, like 30 years.
But the fact that he denied it is what bothered me, because I'm like, dude, no one lays down on the bed and tucks their shirt in.
Nobody goes.
Who does that?
Almost arm length in there.
I'm sorry, to all my big belly listeners out there. I didn't mean to insult the way you tuck in your shirts.
Hey man, if you gotta lay down and tuck in that shirt, like...
I don't believe that was his. The reason I don't believe that either is because he asked her for her number and her address.
He was 100% hitting on
her. Oh god, yes.
Well, especially during the interview, and
however, see, I was gonna get to that. However, though, she was definitely doing the whole knee touch and everything like that. Is definitely innuendos on herself. So
he was baited.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the fact that he did it. He did it. Let's just not. Let's just not
like
beat around.
He did it. He could have said no.
He could have said no. I'm married. Blah blah blah. I'm married to my cousin. Whatever.
Yeah.
The fact is, he did it.
Hey, right. Man, a chick who's 40 years younger than you that looks like that. Trying to
I'm not. I am not saying that was wrong. If he wants to, rob. If she wants to rob from the grave, that's fine. And if he wants to rob the cradle, that's fine.
Okay, so like
what I'm getting at though is like this whole let's play these mental gymnastics on TV now and say it was a hit job. I didn't mean to do. I didn't do anything wrong. No, you clearly were about ready to have sex with this chick.
Like legitimately, no one goes to a hotel room just to be.
Well,
like,
it was an interview.
talk.
Fair enough. It was an interview. But no one goes
to the bedroom.
No one goes with wine. With wine.
And he didn't say no. And
he didn't say no.
So like, and you know, the whole thing about this, by the way, this is Borat's daughter we're talking about in the film, who was like laying in the barn. She was like watching this. First of all, it's funny. She's watching this Cinderella video.
Oh my God!
It's called Melania. And it's like, I'm just a girl from Slovenia trying to find an original.
I'll never be like Melania.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And then when they show Trump, he's like, he was more fat, and he had the boner, and he just goes and grabs her right by the pussy,
and like dances around with her while he's doing
ballroom dancing style.
Yeah.
The one thing I did not like about this film, but when I went back and I watched it, I didn't watch it twice. I just kind of like rewind the ending because I was like, wait, what just happened? Is the ending. At first, I did not like that ending, but then when I went back, I was like, okay, that's pretty fucking hilarious. When he's just like, like, okay, I'm here to take my punishment. He's like, it's okay. We all make mistakes. I was like, what? And then he's just like, he sees the plan, how to spread the virus, and he's, in the beginning, he's like, I went all over the world, and then he's with Tom Hanks, and he's like, Tom, can I get your autograph? He's hacking on Tom Hanks?
But then he goes, like, first he goes to, because he does say in the beginning, he goes around the East Coast, and then like he stops at like some chicken market in China, and he coughs on like the chicken, and then he meets Tom Cruise in like Australia,
Tom Hanks,
Tom Hanks, and then he coughs on him, and then because like he gets injected
the virus,
with like gypsy tears or something.
They said they injected him with gypsy tears to make him safe. Yeah. But what was funny though too is I thought because in the end of the first Borat, and this will leave it. The end of the first Borat, they talk about how like things have changed a little bit, but they didn't really change though. They still do the running of the Jews. But in the second one, they're like, no, now we're like the rest of the world. Now we just hate America, which I thought was really interesting.
It was
because
brilliant.
they had the running of America or the Americans. Which I was like, oh my God.
And then the Fauci with the vaccine.
His daughter has that freaking Hillary Clinton haircut.
Yes.
That
was fantastic symbolism at the end. I like how, again, they kind of shined a little bit with that. But yeah,
Mike, you've been quiet on this one. Mike, what did you think about it?
Overall, I found myself laughing less and less as it went on, and more wondering because, like, I noticed, like, at first there's a little bit too much story.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, they're starting to get to what made the first Borat good, which is like real people reacting to things.
Yeah.
And then even those start to feel a little tame and stuff. And then, like, at the 45 or so minute mark of the movie, you discover, oh, they started filming this in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
That's why this movie is like 65% story.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like a great story. It's the most generic story Hollywood has right now, which is let's pass this franchise off to a woman. That seems to be where they go with everything these days.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the movie goes. Like, let's just redo the first one, but we'll replace him with a woman. And yeah, it is heartfelt and interesting in parts, but like, we know where it's going. His daughter's
I wouldn't say they're going to continue it off with a woman, though.
No,
but
I
either
don't
way,
think so.
the point of the movie
was like she passes. I mean, he says it at the end, like I'm number
Passing
4.
the torch.
Yeah, I'm number 4. Number 3 is my daughter.
Yeah, passing the torch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially what Hollywood does now when they don't have a story with anything. And so, like, the story bits were kind of getting on my nerves in terms of, like, there's just too much of them, and I wanted more of the interviews. But once the COVID thing comes up, I'm like, okay, I get from a production standpoint why you did this, and they found a good way to make use of it by having him spread the virus throughout the world.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Funny. I don't know. Overall, I enjoyed it. I'd give it like a 6 because I don't see a reason to ever really watch it again. Because again, as it went on, I found it less and less funny.
I don't find a way to. I will agree with you on in some respects too. I don't really watch Borat over and over and over. I never have. I've seen Borat twice, maybe.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters, and then I think like once on DVD, and then I haven't seen it in 12 or 13 years.
Same
I
thing.
kind of want to rewatch it now.
I think though, definitely though, out of sequels, as sequel goes, though, it was definitely one of the stronger sequels I've seen because it could have been a lot worse.
Super worse.
I've
bad.
tarnish the original. Or
yeah,
it's still in the same spirit. They just softened some of the like Again, in the first
It was
one,
soft, yeah.
Yeah.
In the first one, like he fights his manager, and their dicks are both out.
Yeah, like that.
That's why I said it was more heartfelt, more soft.
And I think they were trying to give you that with the dance scene between the daughter. And,
That was great.
But even that was sort of
that
tame.
scene was great too.
Yeah.
though.
Oh my
when
god.
he was just like, "How much do you think my daughter's worth?" And that guy's like, 150,000. He's like, "Ooh, you my new best friend."
And then he turns to his daughter and he's like,
"Stop! That is so gross."
Yeah. That was the funniest thing ever.
There were some parts in that movie though too. I was just like, "What do you? Duh! This is how people act." Like nowadays, like that's not shocking though. There were some parts I was like, "That's not shocking at all. That's how people are."
Unfortunately, it's not shock. I think the bigger point in some of those sequences is like it's not that it's not shocking; it's that it should be shocking.
Yeah.
It isn't. And again, at the end, they kind of bring that
Like
full
the
circle,
Instagram
because
influencer.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
When she's like, "How old?" The question is, "How old do you want a man?" She's like, "Near death," and she's like, "Oh, then you want one that just had a heart attack."
Yeah. Oh my
I was
God.
like, "Oh my god!"
Congratulates her. On
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
So
I was like, "Wow, that's where we're at." I guess.
That was pretty bad.
Or even when just the whole symbolism with the daughter included through the whole film. You know, this is my last thing, but just her when he's like, okay, I'm gonna get her breast implants. Goes to that lady. He goes to the lady for the tanning salon, and he's just like, "What shade do you want?" She's like, "I want to be the racist family." And she looks at him. She's like,
I want to
you
go
might
past the 7.
Yeah, I want to go past the
the 7. I'm like, oh my god,
Like,
there's
wow.
the color for that.
Yeah, like just like
Like you didn't know it.
like Mike was saying.
Know it. Thank you very much.
For that, I think she just like in tune that you probably shouldn't go past.
You shouldn't go past that. Yeah, but again, it's like what Mike is saying, where there's kind of some like desensitizing there going on in American culture that he's kind of touching base in. So he's like letting that happen to kind of let people catch themselves, and they don't. So you know, it was good.
Yeah, you know, I can agree with you, and I have to agree with you guys. So this was more of a heartfelt thing, because after I watched this movie, I had to go back and watch Borat, because it's probably been at least 15 years since I've seen this movie. And when I was watching this new one, I'm like, okay, it's getting pretty good, and I'm like, him going into these disguises made me think of him doing Who's America and having to kind of go into that kind of a role to be able to interview most of these people.
Yeah, but This Is America, he's like literally trying to tarnish some of these people with some of these bad ideas that he has.
Yeah, I mean,
this one is just like playing off of America's ignorance to immigrants.
That's what I thought, and that's why I mean a little bit like that. But I mean, he really didn't try to tarnish anybody. I mean, probably my favorite scene in this entire movie is what you brought up, was the synagogue, and that old woman or those Jewish women coming up to him and like hugged him.
She dropped it though.
Yeah.
Should have sued him?
Yeah, she sued him.
It's her daughter.
There's lawsuits all over this movie right now.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah.
Her daughter is suing because her mom did not know what she was signing up for.
The babysitter was suing too.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she pulled. They're all pulling their lawsuits. There was one person too. I believe the reason the woman pulled her lawsuit from the synagogue is because she thought he was making a joke.
Yeah.
But she saw the movie and she was like, he's not trying to.
And the point of that sequence is to be like, no, idiots. The Holocaust did happen. Yeah.
Because he gets happy about it, but it's more like you should be happy that it existence in history.
That's what I kind of liked. She kind of made him change his mind about it, and just kind of.
Well, not that one guy, not the one guy who with the birth control. When he's like, I got my daughter, but there's a baby in her.
Oh my god, that was
that scene was.
That really.
Wait. He's like, wait. Are you keep? I don't know why. He's like, why do you keep saying that he is your dad? She's like, because he is my dad. He's like, oh.
And he's like, stop talking about it. I do not want to hear it.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh shit, I don't need to be involved in this criminal or whatever.
Yeah. It was that made me laugh, and God, we're going so far and far, but it reminded me of the Bruno one when he goes to the gay conversion guys. That's one of my favorite scenes of all time. When it's just like, they'll be saying, how did Bruno change? He did it with Jesus. And it's like, are you coming on to me right now? No. He's like, no. He's like, oh, because he's like, that whole talk with the Jesus, he's like, just real hot.
Oh my god.
Have you ever seen Borat? Have you seen Bruno?
Same thing with Borat. I watched it. Well, Borat I saw at least 2 or 3 times, but Bruno I think I saw the once.
Oh, I love Bruno. I actually
Yeah.
think Bruno's my favorite film he's done.
It's the most shocking.
I enjoyed it, but I just haven't seen it again.
There's just so many scenes in Bruno I just can't get over. Like when they're fighting in front of the police station, and he's like, it's all subtitled. He's like, I was food drunk, Lutz. He's like, Asian Cajun potato skins.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's Bruno! And all the cops are just like watching them have this fight, like just standing there like, what the fuck?
One last thing I would like to say is there in Borat 2, one thing that I thought would have changed so many of the scenes and made a lot of the scenes more interesting and more like the first is, for whatever reason, him and his daughter are always speaking whatever language they speak in Kazakhstan. I'm not sure. They always speak that to each other in public.
Yeah.
And, like, these things are pretty funny what you're saying, and it would be funny to see like that, receptionist react, or that cashier, or whomever's in the room. If there was in English, some of those sequences would have been more funny than story.
I
But I think they probably were like, we got to get the story beats moved forward, which again was my biggest problem. I like the realness of the other
so do I.
Coen films a little more.
I love the whole sub. What he said, man, he just sent back a bunch of angry faces. All right, we'll be right back with our last review of Trial of the Chicago 7.
Do you guys like cheesy movies? I mean, the real primo stuff. Well, here at TYTD Reviews, we've got you covered. Covering cult classics and the movies that time forgot, we review the kind of movies your video store clerk always warned you about. From sci-fi to action, horror to comedy, if it's radioactive, it's on TYTD. With special guests and more, why not join us, tune in and drop out? And we hope to see you very soon.
Hello, potential listeners. My name is The Vern, and I'm the host of the Cinema Recall podcast. On most shows, myself, along with some great guests, we will talk about a movie and then some of the most iconic moments that happened in said movie. On top of that, you'll get bonus shows where I will give you short reviews about new and classic movies, or I'll just rant and rave about something going on in the entertainment industry. So come check us out. We're available on Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, most other places. Don't forget to follow us on social media. On Twitter, we're at cinema_recall. And then on Facebook, Instagram, we are Cinema Recall Podcast. Don't forget to email us your ad spots to play on future episodes. That email is cinemarecall@gmail.com. Hope to see you around, and thank you very much for listening.
This is the Nostalgunk Podcast, where one person's junk is another person's childhood. I'm Matt McGraw.
And I'm Kyle Smith. Join us each week as we take a deep dive into your pop culture consciousness and discuss everything from movies, TV, music,
cartoons, toys, video games, and more.
And we want to hear from you, so connect with us. Nostalgia means so many different things to so many different people, so share with us your favorite piece of nostalgia.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at NostaljunkPod, and you can subscribe to us on all the major podcast platforms. Let's get this thing up to 88 miles per hour, and we'll see you next week.